Hello everyone, it's Brett here, Lionheart84. So I thought I'd do a quick, just a little overview actually of the weather we've had for the first half of June and just how bad it's been and the sort of temperatures we've been getting and how it's affected in particular the tropicals, the ones which have not moved at all since they've been outside. In some cases they've been outside a month and haven't grown whatsoever, and others that are slightly more cool tolerant have actually been growing. Now obviously this won't be of much interest to people in the America, possibly Australia, and of course people in the UK will be well aware of the weather problems we've been having, but they might not be aware what effect it does have on your plants. So basically I'm filming this on a Sunday, and there's actually some sunshine, which believe me has been a rarity here recently, and the weather this year has been playing silly tricks on a lot of the plants and caused leaf loss, leaf scorch, fruit drop, all sorts of issues. Some plants seem to be relatively unaffected, both the normal cold tolerant hardy plants, but some more of the subtropicals and tropicals, it does cause issues with them. So basically the temperatures for the first couple of weeks of June, we've regularly had nighttime temperatures down into single figures in centigrade. So I've regularly had temperatures down to sort of 8 or 9 degrees at night, and that's been rising to which is around sort of the 45 to 50 Fahrenheit range. And the daytime temperatures in the last 2 weeks, apart from perhaps one day when it went a bit higher in the sunshine, I think it hit 22, 23, virtually every day the temperature's been languishing in the sort of somewhere in the 15 to 18 degrees centigrade bracket, so somewhere between about 58 and about 64 degrees. We've also had cold winds with that. We have had a fair bit of rain in the beginning of June, but it's been quite dry for the last week or so. But to give you some idea of the kind of issues it gives, most what I call sort of subtropical to tropicals really need consistent temperatures in the really above 22, 23 centigrade, about 74, 75 Fahrenheit to start growing consistently. And when you haven't got those temperatures, basically they tend to be quite inactive, and that does also hold for some of my sort of cold hardy outdoor plants, which I'll show you as well, and things like the figs, where I lost all the brabers off my main in-ground fig tree, barring I think there might be 5 or 6 on it that were smaller brabers, and they've held. But just to give you some ideas of what effects this sort of cold weather is having, and it's not good for growing the tropicals outside. This, for example, is my rose apple. This is Syzygium jambos, not a wax apple. And when I bought this out probably a month ago now, it had these little red leaflets starting to form at the beginning of the stems, which will be the new growth. There's another one there. There's a couple of the stems that have got them on the ends, these signs are red, but nothing more has happened. Now I would have expected this to have flushed out a full set of growths now, and in actual fact all that's happened is it's still got these little red tips on them where the new growth is meant to be coming out, but it just hasn't been warm enough. So you've got these the signs of where the growth is going to come out, but nothing's happening. And I actually cut the plant back to try and stimulate it. Normally when you cut it back I would expect to have new red buds coming out here, and there's nothing happened at all. The same with the same member of the family, this is Cumini, the Jamun. It's got 1 or 2 red leaves starting to show, but this really should have put out several inches of growth by now. Now the strawberry guavas, or cherry guavas, are growing slowly, and a few flower buds are starting to appear. But if you look at what and I think I'm more inclined to think this is the cold weather and windburn when I bought the plants outside. If you look at my, that's an ice cream bean there, You would be tempted to think that's sun scorch, which I might have got a little bit of when I first bought it out because it was being grown in a very sort of low light part of the kitchen. But I also think the damage has been caused by cold wind burn because the plant was inside, obviously with no wind at all. My canistel or egg fruit plant, if you can see these bare stems, has almost completely defoliated again. Every stem has lost all its leaves, which I think's a combination of cold. I don't think it's all sunburn, but if we get some hot weather, that will rapidly branch out again, and also it'll more than likely flower. But we still need those temperatures. My very sad, very disappointing, my white sapote that I repotted, obviously it could be transplant shock as well, but basically almost all of the leaves on the plant, and it had a good covering of foliage on it, all of the leaves, almost probably 70% of them have yellowed and dropped off. Now I think that is a combination of transplant shock and also the very cold windy weather we've had as well, because when you transplant when you repot a plant, you don't really want to expose it to that. The growth is okay on the lily pilly because it's been out for a long time. I had that right out, I think, since the beginning of I think I had that out from the beginning of April, so that's well adjusted to the cooler temperatures. I've just watered it because I noticed it was drooping a bit, and this has now got flower bud stems coming out on it, so I'm pleased with that. We're going to have flowers on it, but some of, as I said, the more tropical plants have not grown at all. My guavas have completely stalled, the tropical guavas. The citrus have had almost no new growth on them at all. They've also gone completely static, and almost no flowers on them apart from the one I showed the other day, which is the Sanford Curifera. And I've actually also got a good showing of flower buds on my Kaffir lime, Citrus hystrix, also known as Macrute. Although it hasn't really put out much new growth, but most of my other citrus have done nothing. My guavas, little bit of shooting, but this red coloration on the leaves is normally caused by cold temperatures. This is not as a result of sunburn. This is cool temperatures. The only bit of good news I've got is my repotted avocado. This is the one that's in the gold mix. Is putting out new growth, so that one looks okay. In actual fact, the one that I put in my own mix is also putting out shoots. The Babaco also has dropped a load of the large leaves. Suriname cherry's not looking happy. Really, the weather has not been suitable for tropicals at all, though a couple are looking okay. Now, if we have a quick look round of the effects in the garden as well, seem to have held most of the fruits on my medlar, but you can still see some are not developing and they're dropping off, like that one. This one's gone yellow. This could be lack of water as well. I need to give them a water. Some of the fruits that are better developed are fine. The mulberries aren't swelling up on my mulberry. Again, I'm going to have to give it a good watering. And the other thing I've noticed is some of the pineapple guavas, and now we're in the middle of June, have virtually shown no new growth at all. Just a little bit showing. I mean, some of them have got flower buds on, but ones like this one, it's just not keen to start in the growth. And even my in-grounds one here, the Mammoth, has got almost no new growth on it. There's a little bit there. Bear in mind it's in ground, so it's not going to be so short of nutrients. It has got one or two flower buds appearing, but I think the main issues are we just haven't had hot enough weather. The one that's absolutely covered in flowers, which is a seedling one, these flower buds have barely developed at all since the beginning of June. They're not really swelling, getting to the point of opening. They've grown a little bit, and we've had, as I said, we've had rain, so it's not necessarily a rain issue. But same with my pomegranate, it's been shedding flower buds left, right and centre. One opens there, and we've got a few more buds starting to develop again here. But what I found is a lot of the flower buds have simply been getting to this size and then they drop off, and I think that's triggered by the fact that the temperatures aren't warm enough. These really need temperatures, pomegranates in the mid-70s, to stimulate flowering properly. So somewhere in the sort of 23 to 24 centigrade temperature bracket. Same problem I've got with my jujubes. Growth has stalled on them. They've hardly grown in June at all, and these would normally be flowering by now, or certainly be flowering by the beginning of July. And I can see flower buds on them. Basically, there's almost nothing showing in terms of flower buds here, so they're not likely to flower. So basically the weather has been very, very unsuitable. I've had no flowers on a lot of my persimmons, and the ones that have had flower buds on, they've been dropping heavily. Again, I think it's because the weather's too cold, and that's probably what was causing this leaf curl on the persimmons, although the new leaves are okay. But it could be the cold. There's one or two flower buds appearing on them, so we might get the odd persimmon. So basically, it's been a very problematical start to the summer. It's not ideal weather, although everything looks quite green and healthy. What's not happening is it's not triggering the ones that need warmth to actually develop flowers on them. And in the case of my obviously subtropicals and tropicals, it's not encouraging new growth on them, so not much we can do about it. I've looked at the long range weather forecast, and it actually looks as if not this week coming, but the week after, we could see temperatures in the 23 to 24 centigrade bracket, so sort of mid-70s, and that should get plants like this to kick into growth. But I have to make sure they're well fed and watered as well. Anyway, just thought I'd do a quick overview of the weather. Obviously people in the UK will be wary of how dreadful it's been, so won't be any great news to them, but it is disappointing because I was hoping that my white sapote would adapt to its repotting well, and unfortunately it's really suffered. But I'm hoping that it'll start sending out a lot of new shoots, but obviously that's not what you want. If you want any fruits to develop to an edible size, it's also dropped most of its what fruits it had on it, embryo fruits. There's a couple there that are still on just, but I don't think they're going to come to anything. They're already looking a bit yellowish, and if they go yellow, it means obviously they're ripening, and there's no and there's going to be nothing edible on them. So thanks for watching the video. Hopefully it'll be of interest. I'm sure you'll agree with me on the weather. It's not much fun. Please do subscribe to my channel. You can share the video. I think it'll be useful. Please give me a thumbs up and click on that bell if you want to know when new videos come out. I'll see you all soon. Brett out for now.